Thank you, Dr. Mortazavi, for breaking down the startup funding landscape, especially how founders can access real-world opportunities through grants, incubators, and smart strategy. A fantastic start to our day. Our next speaker of this morning brings a strong US perspective on startup growth and funding. He is the founder of TERAVAULT.ventures and co-founder of Smells Health. Please welcome Mr. Jules Sukhabut, speaking on USA, tech startup, investor landscape, and cross-border
experience that I'll talk about as well. So it's going to be a little bit of a different presentation. I'm going to speak from the co-founder side and how I was able to fund some of the ventures that I started as well as exits as well. So my name is Jules Sukhabut. I'm currently spending most of my time in Honolulu, Hawaii. I'm an adjunct professor at the Chaminade University, and I actually teach the Hogan Entrepreneurship Program. I'm at the university also because I'm I'm part of the IT team that's on a digital transformation project where we're taking all the university systems to the cloud. So that's my major client there in Honolulu. I'm also the advisor with Pycap, so if there are any entrepreneurs here that are looking to expand to the US to set up operations, I have some experience in that area and I can help consult with you for that. TERAVAULT.ventures, what we are is we are a venture builder, so we mainly build software applications for our own startups. But then we also have clients that are part of the Canadian startup program. So we build the MVPs and the POCs for those clients. These are some of the clients and startups that I'm involved in, and I'll talk more about that. Okay, so let's start with the journey and how this all started. So back 1993, my wife and I, 1993 was a pretty eventful year. I graduated from high school, around 19 years old. We had our first son, we got married, and I also went into nursing school. So shortly after that, I dropped out of nursing, and I felt a calling to join my entrepreneur initiatives and start a business. So the first business I started came out of a hobby that I had. And what it was is paintball. So these are like paintball teams that go around and run around a field, mark each other. There were events in the US as well as in Canada. So I thought it was a great idea to open up a retail paintball store, which then became an indoor field, and we moved our retail operations there as well. And then it was expanding around the globe, so I moved back to my home country in Thailand, and I started to distribute these products down there. So lots of lessons learned here. The retail store didn't do well. I didn't understand cash flow and reinvesting profits. And then the indoor fields didn't do well because we didn't market properly. Our competitors were advertising in the movie theaters and they were just out booking us. So those closed down as well. And then on the Thailand side, that did well. We were able to distribute the products and sell it to the paintball fields. So how I started this, the funding is pretty much bootstrapping. So a lot of it is from love money. If you've heard that term, this is my father giving me some cash to start up. And then we also had some debt financing. So we would get some capital, we'd buy inventory. Our suppliers also extended their terms for us. So 30-day loans on the inventory that we purchased, and then we used credit cards to then pay that off. So we would stretch it by 30 days and then another 30 days on the credit cards. So also while in Thailand, so I was there for around 3 to 4 years, and just shortly after the paintball business, I got networked into a bunch of friends, and so we love to go around and go to restaurants and eat, and we thought it was a good idea to start our own restaurant. So this is the concept that we have. It's rapid Bangkok, and these are kebabs or rotisserie chicken. So how that got funded was all the partners put in some capital, so that's equity financing. And then we also bootstrapped it with sweat equity. So all the partners would go take some shifts, and we would rotate in as part of the investment. We found out later on that it's very expensive to start your own flagship restaurant. There's a lot of like inventory you have to buy and fixed assets. And then we tried our hand in the kiosks. So the airport, all the major malls, those are very, very profitable. And what happened with this is I sold my position in the company to one of the founders, and then I went back to Canada to start other ventures. But this business actually stayed alive for about 10 years. So food and beverage, pretty tough industry to be in. For me, that is. And then I exited from the restaurant. I started a web design company. And the story of this one is pretty interesting. So had no money, had to pay some bills from the PayPal business, had to pay off some credit cards. And I got a job in it's like a cyber cafe. And back then, the internet was just growing, right? It was like brochureware, there was like Netscape, and people were creating like company brochures on websites. And so we set up the company set up in Thailand, and it would get foreign clients. And these projects were like 5,000, 10,000 just to do a website. And that's how we started. So my boss at that time at the cyber cafe approached me and said, do you want to start our own business instead of, being linked to this like coffee and internet surfing type business model? So I said, yeah, sure, no problem. And how we funded this company was, again, love money. I asked my father for a laptop. At that time, it was like $2,000. And then from there, my uncle had an architectural firm. And so I asked if I could use some of his space. He had a whole top floor that was available. So he gave up the rent portion of it for equity. So again, like that's equity financing. And then I took the air conditions that I couldn't open the retail store with in the paintball field and brought them into the office space. So that's how we started this. These are some of the clients that we have. Shark brand is like Red Bull. And then we had hosting like way back before there was Amazon or Microsoft. And we started hosting websites for clients. So this is 1997 to 1999. And then as you know, the Asian financial crisis hit around there, and that's when I packed up and came back to Canada. So back in Canada, I got a couple jobs in IT. So got training, got certified. A couple years I spent in Canada until we opened this company right here. Back in 2002. And so what this business is it's a managed service provider for the data center. And back then, if you want to create your SaaS apps, you'd have to actually buy equipment. And you'd have to host it in the data center, buy cabinets, get network connections. So we were, my business partner and I, Michael Tuxani, myself, and then actually my third business partner is Renato. We started this business by approaching the company that I worked at, which was ThinkPath. They had a monster board site that my team was managing. And I remember just saying, hey, I think the days are ending here. They're gonna lay off some staff and they're gonna cut back on expenses. So why don't we just approach them? I'll pitch them a cost for hosting that's less than my salary, and then I'll be out of a job. And that's exactly what happened. That was our first client, ThinkPath. I call that the anchor tenant. So if everyone here is familiar with commercial properties, you find like a McDonald's or a Tim Hortons that drives traffic, they pay the main bulk of the rent, and then you can get other clients. So this was it. This was that anchor tenant, ThinkPath. So we built the business around 120,000 ARR, it's like 10,000 a month. And we bought all this equipment. It's about 50 to 60,000 from eBay at that time. And so how we funded this was from sales. The traditional get a client and have that cash flow carry your operating expenses. And then also with credit cards. So when you buy from Amazon nowadays, or eBay back then, you could then pay it on your credit card, and that gives you another 30 to 45 days. We sold this business, fortunately, to a company called TechnoNet Hosting. So this is back in July 2025, just three years after operating. And this was an asset sale. So this is very different from a full, corporate share sale. So they bought all of our contracts, all of our managed service contracts, and then they bought the assets. And then the big benefit there is one of my business partners there from 2006, he stayed with the company for 4 years. So he became their operations director. The company, TeraVault Hosting, was expanding to Canada. He built it up. I left Royal Bank at that time, so I was full-time in Royal Bank, straddling between a startup and a full-time job. And that's how we got this operations up and running. But the big thing is I came back in 2008, and I got a contract with them, a fully incorporated contract consulting package, and that was nicely worth like $200,000 per year. Sorry, for a year and 4 months. This company actually rebranded as Tenzing Managed Services. You can see the news article on the left, and then they actually went public, Pivot Tree. So they're still public to this day. And some of the employees that started with us stayed with them during the transition. So I think market cap, I think it's a little bit less right now. So that's the story of Banyan Networks. And this leads into the next opportunity. So just before I go to the next one, I wanted to ask, who here is an entrepreneur in a tech startup right now? Just a show of hands. Okay, if you're starting one, if you're growing one, about to exit, same? Okay. And most of you are looking for funding? Funding stage? Okay, great. Okay, so moving to the next one. This is the bigger opportunity that we have here. This is Order Dynamics. So again, both Banyan Networks and Order Dynamics were Canadian companies. And how we got to this one was, you remember with Banyan Networks, we would manage and host systems, right? Now you call them SaaS companies. Back then they were called ASP, Application Service Providers. So one of our clients is actually Order Dynamics. It was a small boutique software development company that had a product called Order Dynamics. And we would just go to networking events like this. And we ran into our former clients, and just out of conversation, what are you doing? What are you up to? And they told us about this product, because we were in the business for data center hosting. And that's when the two partners, the original partners, said, hey, do you want to join our business? We'll give you half the company. So this is quite an interesting way of starting up, where there's a lot of companies here, sub $1 million in sales. There might be solopreneurs you call them, that need someone who specializes in software development or hosting or operations or sales. And if you could be that person, in this case, my business partner Michael Tuxani and myself, we knew how to do like e-commerce and e-commerce hosting. And so we joined them, and the way that was funded is a combination. It's part of equity financing. So we set up Order Dynamics as a separate corporation, and then we came in with sweat equity for the other 50%. So what was interesting is that we gave credit to the company that was existing 5 years ago, and so let's say it's $800,000. So we would carve out a Class A share for $800,000. So if we sold the business for $1 million in the future, Michael and I would only split the $200,000, right? So we would pay the first set of shares, and we would participate in the rest. So we grew it to 4.4 million, and this is before there was Shopify, and this is before ATG was sold to Oracle for $1 billion, and Magento was sold for 1.6. Henry's Camera was our first client. So this is also funding the company. We spent about 5 months just redoing the corporation, redoing the structure, redoing the branding. As you see, there's 4 dots. So there's 4 partners. The other Banyan Networks had 3 waterfall, which is 3 partners. So that's how we came up with the logo. So after redoing the branding, I found a channel partner. This was my former colleagues at ThinkPath. They left the business to start a consulting company, but their biggest client that they had was Henry's Camera. And they found out that they were re-platforming off the IBM WebSphere product. And we didn't even have our offices lined up, and so we used their offices to pitch to Henry's Camera. We showed the new product, and then we were able to close $12,000 MRR SaaS managed services deal, and also $250,000 in professional services. So that right away became like my salary, and then we were able to grow team members from there. Also to note, what's amazing about Canada is you'll see that in this case, 79% of our clients were in the US, and then a little less than, a little over 21% were Canadian clients. So very similar to Banyan Networks. So Canada is really well situated where you have a low operating cost, which is like a 35% discount with the exchange rate. And then you're able to travel back and forth to the US to capture more clients. So this was a big benefit. And Shred, we use Shred every year. We got awarded. We spent over 3 million in salaries. And so we captured that. That became the partners' bonuses. It floated payroll. We did this for 4 years. I had to write the reports, so I know exactly what that's all about. So very key that you all utilize Shred as you're growing. It's a game changer. So this, we got acquired just shortly after. 4 years of operation. This is around 2013 to 2015. So the acquisition, why it's 2 years, is there's an earnout. Like after you sell your business, they want you to stay for 2 years, and then they pay you a contract, but then they also pay you for the company. And just to note, the reason why I like software SaaS companies is because the valuation is a 4 times sales to equity ratio. So that means, you know, if we hit 4 million, or if you hit 4 million, what happened was a company came in and said, okay, we'll give you 4 times your top line sales. And this is like with no profit, because every time we make profit, we redistribute that into the growth of the business. And the deal was 50% cash, 50% equity of the new company that acquired us. And the gentleman is on the right. His name is Sir Tom Hunter. He owns West Coast Capital, and so he has a charity with King Charles. He was Prince Charles, but King Charles now. And then he also has, it's called the Hunter Clinton Initiative. So he has another initiative in Africa with former President Lord, I guess. And he was talking to us and telling us like all these little tips and tricks about business and who we are, and asked us all these questions. And you know, in the end, he struck a deal with us. This is the amount. That's us, the partners on the left. That's the day we signed the contract. It's in the hands of Michael right there, and that's the bottle of champagne. So this is like a game changer. This is significant exit. And does anyone know about this Canadian lifetime capital gains exemption? Anybody? Okay. You know about, okay, so the way it works in Canada is you can sell a business, and when we sold it, it was under 1 million, but right now it's 1.25 million. That means if you sold the business right now for 2 million, 1.25 million is tax-free. So then you only pay tax on the other 750,000. what this means, I'm just gonna pull the math here. What this means is, if you take 1.25 million and 50% is considered capital gains, then the taxable income is 625,000. If you live in Ontario, that margin right now is around 26.77. So you would have to pay $167,000 in taxes. So the strategy is, I had known this before we built this company, before we started. So I split my shares with my wife and I. So the key is you can split your shares with your family members. That means each of us got a tax exemption. So that would be 2.5 million tax-free. So if you had children or like adult children, you could keep adding that. So that's a really big tip. I think that pays the ROI of the ticket today, right? So it's like, and by the way, you have to do this 24 months before you sell the business. So some of you are part of the startup visa. So maybe a strategy is, finish that, immigrate into Canada, and then maybe there's some sort of opportunity. You have to speak to your lawyer or accountant if you could then have a holding company and then split shares somehow. I don't know the exact details right now how it works, but for us, we held the shares directly from day one. Okay, Shift Ventures, this is US based. So how I got into this is, back in 2015, the market was growing for vape products. These are like alternatives to cigarettes. And they legalized structure in the UK and the EU. So they had all these details on how much nicotine you can put, what the packaging size is. And as I mentioned, we were acquired by a UK company and I had to do a 2-year earnout. So that's when I was traveling back and forth in the UK a lot. And then after the earnout in 2015, when they finally paid the last amount for the business, that's when my family and I moved to London. And so we got an investor visa in London. I think it's called a Tier 2 investor visa. And this gentleman here, Mike Zhang, Airsoft Megastore, he was one of our clients from Order Dynamics. He just turned around 20. And he sold his company for I think double-digit millions, and he invested with his classmates, and they grew this vape company called Shift Ventures in over 60 million sales. And that's when he asked me if I wanted to invest in the company as an angel investor. So now this is the reverse. So now I'm no longer a co-founder or a startup entrepreneur. I'm more investing in companies, trying to join their group as a management consultant. So the first investment was 2015. I put in 150 US on a convertible note, and luckily that paid back. So it didn't convert to shares, but it converted to a 7% return within 9 months, which is 9.4%. So we were able to go with this business. We were able to grow it in the UK because what had happened was he approached me after the original investment. And that's when he asked me if I wanted to expand the business in the UK. And so I accepted the role. I made another secondary investment, as well as I got back a big management contract to go out there. And so this is us just traveling, trade shows, setting up the booths. And this is where I learned CPG and consumer packaged goods. So just bringing it back to now, present day. So this is after the Shift Ventures. I actually sold my shares back to the co-founders, and then I moved over to this business right here. And what this is we have a boutique software development company. As I mentioned, we mainly incubate our own startups. However, we are working with startup visa clients, also building their products, and this is part of our operation. So US based S Corporation. We have office in Toronto, and then we have offshore development office in Cebu. So we're up to about 50 employees, most of them on our projects. Big client back in 2018, 2019 was Hawaiian Dental Service. So I call that our major anchor tenant. The MRR was a little less than 40,000 a month. So this lasted for about 2 years. and then moved into Chaminade as the next major client. And so we do a little less than combined, a little less than $1 million annually. Greater than $1 million annually. And then we've been in business for over 6 years. So this is the E2 investor visa, if you're ever familiar with this. They still have this today. You can get a non-permanent residency in America. It's 5 years. You make an investment in your own company. You can only work in your company, and then you can renew every 5 years. So we're on our second 5-year renewal here. These are the startups that we invested in, and also our clients. So Tripian, I'm not sure if Jeff is here. Oh, Jeff is here today. CEO of Tripian is here today. So Jeff actually was the original client of Banyan Networks. We were like managing one of his first startups, the whole like firewall network, and then he became a mentor. And then he also worked with us at Order Dynamics as well as May. So we were part of the same team for a few years there. And then Jeff went off to start his own SaaS company for trip personalization on trips. And he utilized our services to build one of the white label apps. And then I made a small angel investment contribution into the company. And so that's my new MO now. That's another strategy for funding and getting involved with startups. I'll get involved to help a startup do maybe a small investment. And if they ever receive like the larger investments or grow fast, then hopefully I get a management contract and then equity. So I'm still waiting for Jeff to call me. So he can start that one. The other big one we're doing right now is Smiles. This is a medical fintech company. You can see the screenshots on the right. I'll go to the next deck here. So basically, a good way of starting is family first. You go and ask for love money, all the people that love you and believe in you. You get as much as you can from them, and then from there you can speak to friends, and then after that, hopefully there's an institutional investor that comes along. And you can do like these safe investments. So it's future equity, so it's just a simple agreement for future equity without doing any changes to your share structure. And the pitch for us really is Smiles. Smiles is a fintech solution for uninsured medical services in Canada with future growth in UK, Australia. Family physicians bill and collect on average $50,000 to $100,000 on our platform. And so we target physicians in Canada. 52% of them are in Ontario, BC, Alberta, about 42,000. So you can see the full addressable market. So to be honest with you, when you're pitching, you really don't even get to your deck. So most people will invest in you because they believe in you. You have some track record or they know you. And then also when one family member comes in, usually another one comes. When one friend comes, another one comes. So there's just a whole FOMO effect. And that really helps you at least get your startup. So let me tell you how this looks like. We have 3 co-founders. 2 of them are full-time in the business. We have 1 sales person and then 3 developers, and then we're hiring a customer success. So if our burn rate is around $20,000, all we really need is 1 or 2 angel investors per month for 12 months. And that literally takes us to, right now we're trending to the 140 physicians right now for 3rd quarter. And then we're moving to that MRR. Okay. And that's it. So start with why. This is the big question I ask myself now after Order Dynamics. Why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep trying, all these companies, teach, volunteer? For me, really it's creating value, right? So for me, I like to create value in the things that I do, the products and services. I figured out that entrepreneurship is my art. Some people, my kids like to create music. They like to create digital media. Like I like to create companies. It's all I think about. I was up till 2 in the morning last night. Couldn't sleep. So excited to speak to everyone here. And that's my why. And then also, you know, as I create value in these companies, like ironically, I get compensated. And that compensation helps build the business and, you know, hire friends, work with family members, travel, and it just changes. I find it gives people opportunity to then have other experiences with their family. So just circling back, this is us. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
This is us back at the top. These are the Canadian homes we have. We're living the Canadian dream. Like we were 19 years old, broke, and then we were able to live in these places over the past few years. Back then, before Instagram, we actually had posters of our dreams, our visions. This is the car collection from a poster with model cars. And so we were able to travel after the exit. So this is where we just took our chance and, you know, tried other startups, failed, you know, we succeeded. You know, so that's it. So last question is, what do you do when you save $163,000 in taxes? You buy your dream car collection. So the right side was actually that row on the bottom there. And then the left side are all the experiences driving in Germany. So long story short, I sold the whole collection, don't have it, went to Hawaii. I no longer really love cars as much as I do. I actually only still have the red one that I've never seen for 6 years, but I still pay the bill for it. So anyway, I encourage you to continue with your startups. I applaud you, I cheer you on. Let me know if you have any other questions after the